Welcome back. In part 1 of my look at clan strategies, I focused on clans Buchanan, Campbell, and Cunningham. With this video, we'll discuss clans Fergusson, MacDonald, and MacEwen. Alright, let's get into it. Clan Fergusson's benefits all occur at the start of the game, making this clan the easiest one to play. I often recommend this clan to first-time players since they don't have to remember how to benefit from their clan's abilities. That said, it is important to understand how to immediately implement the two biggest advantages that this clan has, otherwise your game may be lost since you will not have any further benefits going forward. At the beginning of the game, you start with 2 locked shipping, worth £12, and a third starting worker. That third worker will usually be placed near a port, so there is an additional value of £10 for the extra port that you can reach. That is one of the 2 big advantages. Lastly, I estimate another £10 gain in being able to reach cheaper hexes before your opponents for a total first round benefit of £32. That is the second big advantage, namely that your starting shipping allows you to expand quickly and even block your opponent from a good hex if they're not paying attention. Unfortunately, the big disadvantage is that there are no more benefits going forward, although because of the quick expansion, there are lingering benefits on getting to cheap hexes first. There is no one port that gives outsized benefits to Fergusson, though, curiously, the top 9 scores in my database for playing Fergusson all have very high glory points of 54 or higher, compared to the average of about 42 per game for top BGA players. I don't know if the glory story is meaningful, but the correlation is there, so I thought I would pass the information on and you can do what you want with it. I will go for this clan when I see 3 ports that I can make use of in round 1. Clan MacDonald may be the most unloved clan of them all. It is a more difficult clan to play well, though, if you can master it, then the scores you can achieve are not too far behind the other clans. With an auction format, you can often win because the winner paid 20 points for their clan, while you were left with MacDonald as the last clan for 0 points. This time, I will start with when I like the clan, as it provides a nice segue into the clan benefits. I will go for this clan when I see big locks, especially the central lock. One of the big advantages of MacDonald is that your fisherman's ability to row effectively means that you start with free shipping across an unlimited number of locks. It's just that the shipping is delayed, since you can only move 1 lock per turn. Regardless, that means that you can expand more quickly to cheap hexes than your opponents can. That also means that you can potentially get the best contract on the board because the first and or second player must defend their access to a port so that you cannot block them. The total benefit, most of which occurs in the first round, is difficult to quantify as it partially depends on the value of shipping. I will give MacDonald a 2 lock shipping equivalent value of £12, given that in most games, that is the amount of shipping that is needed by other clans to reach the key locations. Next, since all workers cost £6, you save £4 per worker for placing miners. Mind you, you also get £2 less income, so let's say that the advantage is £8 total for the 4 workers. Let's also add the benefit of a £0 hex cost for fishermen. The top BGA players typically will play down 4 or 5 fishermen, so that is another £5 saved in hex costs. Finally, just like with Fergusson, you can reach cheap hexes faster than your opponents, so that is worth an additional £10 for a total benefit of £35. It is hard to get all 8 workers down in the first round, so let's say that you place 7 workers down in the first round and 1 in the second round as a fisherman. Therefore, the round 2 benefit is £3, making the first round benefit £32. That small round 2 benefit is the first disadvantage. Just like with Fergusson, all your benefits come early in the game, and then you are done. Here's a second disadvantage that many people express, though I will show that it is not as bad as you think. You cannot upgrade your workers. First, all of your workers cost £6, so the return on investment, or ROI, which was defined in part 1 in the previous video, is 67%, whereas for other clans, there are 4 miners whose ROI is only 60%. Second, the ROI difference is actually better than that because, as I discussed when defining ROI in part 1, these calculations do not include hex costs to make it easier to compare. But in reality, there are hex costs, just not for fishermen. So even if you can place a miner on a 1 hex, its true ROI drops to 55% and keeps going down as the hex cost increases. I want to finish discussing Clan MacDonald by contrasting it to Clan Cunningham, as they play as opposites. Many people think Cunningham is so powerful because it earns so much money, and yet, as we discussed in the Part 1 video, it is slow to get going and plays catch-up in the end. Many people think MacDonald is so weak because it earns little money, but because of the large first round benefit and the ability to earn money quickly, after the first round you tend to start producing goods and completing contracts much sooner. So MacDonald starts fast and you hope to hang on for victory at the end. Clan MacEwen is a difficult clan to play well, but with the right combination of contracts and port, this clan can be unbeatable. And that sums up when I would go for this clan. The basic port is in play, and I can get a starting contract with 3 hops or more with ability to complete it in the first round. Admittedly, that combination doesn't happen very often, but when it does, look out. Once again, let's look at the games of the top BGA players, this time played as MacEwen. For games where MacEwen was picked first after winning the auction, the average score is 205. The remaining games average only 177. 20 out of the 26 games had the basic port in play, and an incredible 22 out of the 26 games, including the top 10 scores, picked one of 3 starting contracts. 1 bread, 1 whiskey, 1 sheep, 1 wool, or the 2 cheese contract. All 3 contracts not only have 3 or more hops, but they are also in the top 10 cheapest contracts to complete, which provides a wonderful setup for completing in the first round. What is the benefit of completing one of these contracts in the first round? The value can be calculated in the same way as for Clan Cunningham. Assuming the starting market price of £5 for grain, selling beer for £9 a hop means a gain of £4. But we also include the value of 3 merchants that we don't need to buy, so the total round 1 value is £24. Of course, if you don't complete a contract in the first round, then hopefully you will in the second round. So the 2 values presented represent the 2 cases. The overall value of £88 is based on a real game in which 8 contracts are completed with 19 beers produced from the hops at an average gain of £4 for each grain. Mind you, that is a best case scenario. A more typical amount might be 10 to £15 less. Either way, the value tends to be back-end loaded like we saw with Buchanan, unless you can complete that first contract in round 1. So the big advantage is that you get extra income in round 1 to build your engine, but the disadvantage is that you don't often have a chance to get a contract that you can complete in the first round and have grain to go with it. Even if you do, you are still dependent on good contracts for the remainder of the game. A couple of final thoughts. First, be careful to not get tunnel vision on contracts with hops. For example, the 2 bread contract is still an outstanding contract, even if it doesn't have any hops. Similarly, starting with the 9 hops contract is not ideal because it is a difficult contract to complete early on. Second, it makes sense to put grain down early, especially if there's no basic port, and to concentrate on placing cheese factories over bread and whiskey, since you need the grain for producing beer. Well, 6 clans down and 3 more to go. Thank you for watching and listening to this video. I hope you will join me in part 3, where I discuss clans Mackenzie, Robertson, and Stewart. You will find the link in the description of this video. In the meantime, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, and happy playing!